Hello, is Mr. Waite there?
Is Brian speaking?
Yes, Brian Rademacher from Rockeyez. How you doing?
He's not here.
Just kidding. What's up?
Not much. Just hanging.
Cool.
Just doing a bunch of interviews and taking a run at stuff. I got a lot going on, really. I'm just trying to organize my week.
Cool. Now you just released live all access, 8 tracks on iTunes, and that won't be coming out on physical CD, right?
Yeah. You can send off to John Waite, thesinger.com and get a signed copy back in the mail, or you can get it at the shows. But there's just no record company involved. It's my own label, and I couldn't imagine where you could buy it if you actually put it out and did a deal with a record company, because there are no record stores left.
Right.
So it's just like, I'm putting it out there for people that want to hear the band play live. It's a very live record, but it's great. There's no overdubs, and I'm kind of proud of it. And rather than sit on it, I thought, well, I'll put it on iTunes, and if you only want one track, you can download one track. But the only record shop I can think of that's within 5 miles of me right now is Barnes & Noble.
Wow.
And I talked to somebody the other day that when I said Barnes & Noble, and they said, yeah, they just closed the music department in the one that in the town where they were. That was in Michigan somewhere. So really, there is the HMV thing in Europe. They're just closing down. It's just everybody's downloading their music. Even I do it, and I'm not that technical. So I thought, well, since I own quite a lot of my catalog, and it's on No Breaks, I thought I'd just put it out on that small label and see what happened.
Right. Is it more comfortable, actually, to do everything yourself?
Yeah, it gets done.
Cool.
Like mixing and producing and doing the PR, like hiring a PR person and having all those sort of things that you need to do. Waking up in the morning, picking up the phone or going on the internet, and it happens and it's done. It's all done by 10.
Right.
If you were working with somebody on the phone that you don't know, or a record company, they've got other acts that need just as much attention as you do. Sometimes they forget. Sometimes they don't like what you're doing,
Right.
And I think pretty quickly. I'm pretty quick on my feet, and I love what I do.
Cool.
And I've been doing what I've been doing for 40-odd years, so I know everybody. I just call them up and say, will you spin the record?
Wow.
And they said, sure, and they spin the record. So at some point, rather than dealing with a massive company that doesn't really have a soul, it's not about that, it's about the music. I'm not trying to sell you a piece of product. I'm trying to share a record, or a record of a couple of evenings of the band playing live. It's all music to me. The older I get, the more simpler it becomes. And basically going your own way is the best way.
Right. Do you miss vinyl at all?
Flying?
Vinyl.
I think I said flying. I do. I do miss flying. No. I noticed recently that you can buy a lot of albums.
Right.
And the new Bob Dylan record that's coming out of Self-Portrait in the bootleg series will be available on vinyl. And you go to shops now, and you can buy a record player that's reasonably priced, and you can buy very high-quality vinyl. And I'm thinking maybe that's what's going to happen with the music business. You can't really download vinyl.
Right.
You have to buy it, And maybe the czars of the music business will revert back to vinyl and sell physical product again. And you can't download it. You have to buy it.
Cool.
So it would just be a matter of people undercutting each other's price on the records. But it might bring the record companies back full circle to having more control.
That's true.
And also, there's nothing quite like holding the artwork, and especially the European releases and the stuff that were done by hypnosis. It was genuine art,
right.
and it was all it was all different. It was a fabulous thing to go and buy a record. You really felt like you owned something, you know.
Wow. Now, Missing You is a huge hit for you. And, recently it's in Warm Bodies, the movie. How does that work? Do they just...
No, I don't own the copyright to the master.
Right.
The record company just did the deal with them.
Cool. Okay. That's good.
But I'm very pleased about it. I mean, it's been the beginning of a 12-month period, or an 8-month period, whenever it came out, when there's been a lot of press and a lot of the new release, and we seem to have got a lot of exposure, or I've got a lot of exposure, and it's a strange time. Everything comes in cycles. One person does one thing, and then there's this knock-on effect.
Right.
You know, last year, Conan O'Brien had a whole series of adverts on the TV about people missing Conan, and Missing You was playing in the background.
Cool.
And it seems actually, as far back as that, things slowly kind of turn around. I put a record out last year, but one called Rough Tumble.
Uh-huh.
We went on the road and played clubs to get to radio. We got up at 6 or 7 to go to radio and play live and shake hands, meet the fans, do all that. Then go and do Fox TV about 10, and then go and have breakfast and just wait for sound check. But we did that in maybe 50 cities, and we got a #1 single at Classic Rock by doing that. The unfortunate thing is that everybody expects you to stay in the clubs,
Right.
But we did a gig in Dayton a couple of days ago on Friday night for 4,000 people, and it was one of the best gigs I ever played. We decided I got new management this year, and obviously everybody wants to do well, but it's decided that I've spent my time proving the point, playing the clubs,
right,
to get back to where I am. And we have Love and Theft down in Nashville. I've just covered If You Ever Get Lonely. They're number 48 with a bullet or whatever on the country charts. And If You Ever Get Lonely is on the live album.
Right.
It's pretty great.
Cool. Now, I did see you in, recently, well, not recently, a couple of years ago, in a small venue in New Jersey, maybe a couple hundred people, and it was so intimate, and it's really, for me, it gave us a feel of, actually being part of you, compared to, like, if I saw someone at the Meadowlands or Madison Square Garden, it's like, okay, I'm there, you look like an ant because I'm, like, all the way on top, I can't see a damn thing. And,
totally agree.
No,
I mean, I think the thing on Friday was 4,000 people, and you could see everybody's face.
Right.
Or I could have done 20 years ago, and I could see further. I mean, I need glasses to do that.
Right.
But it was fairly intimate, and I was talking to the people in the audience, and they were talking back to me. But those smaller shows have their own unique beauty, and I if I could, the country part of me and the folk part of me would play half of my gigs in those kind of venues, like in very small theaters and churches and that kind of thing. You just get up with the band and it's unplugged. And there's something that takes place there that I'm not sure what it is. But like I said, it's intimate. That's one way of putting it. But you are the same person. There is no real definition between the person singing the song and the audience. They are leaning forward a quarter of an inch when they listen to you sing.
Right.
And you are lost in your own world. In your head, you're somewhere else completely. But you're all standing in the same place. Some are sitting, some are standing. But there is something that's so close to a kind of communion that the songs become different songs. It's like reading a comic as opposed to reading somebody's handwriting or reading a book or looking at a painting. It's the same thing, but it's a different aspect of it, and it's very close to my heart. I mean, I really, as a kid, the first thing I responded to was acoustic guitar, and
right.
it's always been one of the things that defined my songwriting, which I think put me apart from the pack.
Right.
Was that I would go back to those folk and country roots and the storytelling. Even in the Babies, towards the end, there was, well, actually, not, periodically you'd get like a short story. And as I got older, I started to write more like that. But that's a direct result of listening to Bob Dylan or listening to Big Bill Broonzy or Hank Williams. Now, Hank Williams is really a storyteller.
Right.
Bob Dylan is like Rockeyez. It's like, it's like a different level of, it's like lyrical cubism. He's like talking to you from every angle, from a different time, different people, all in this dialogue. I mean, and it comes out in a song. It's pretty great, really.
Cool. Now, with your live shows, did you ever think about maybe adding a keyboard player or anything else? No.
No, the thing that I responded to the most as a kid in the 70s, coming up as a three-piece band with a singer.
Right.
And it's the most honest way I can think of doing what I do. I think keyboards, when you get beyond Jerry Lee Lewis and you get beyond like Nicky Thomas, and you get those great 70s keyboard players that played Hammond or played electric piano maybe, once it moved into synthesizers and that sort of cleverness and that cuteness, the rock thing seemed to be compromised.
Right.
I do believe with all my heart that, as great as Lonnie Johnson is and all those great old guys, and they really are great, I don't hear it in rock. I don't know why rock went in that direction. Rock and roll, yeah, but rock is different. Rock is a modern term, and it's a different kind of music. Maybe the keyboards are the roll,
right,
and maybe the rock is the guitar. But I think there's been way too much roll, and it's sort of dehumanized the songs to me. There's something riveting about a great guitar player and a singer at the mic dueling. There's something riveting about that and interesting to me. I mean, keyboard players, when guys like you and I, guitar players, were 12, we were trying to pick up girls, smoking cigarettes, climbing trees, and being sort of complete fuck-ups and learning about life. Most keyboard players were having piano lessons and plotting and scheming about how to do something else. It's a different kind of human being,
right,
and I love the guitar. I do. My cousin Michael is a pretty famous banjo acoustic guitar player in the Temperance Seven, which is it's a traditional jazz band in England. And my brother Joe is really a brilliant guitar player. He can play anything, and I come from that. And I don't know, man. I just it's like the Stones. I prefer the Stones. With Mick Taylor and Keith Richards, or Ronnie Wood does an admirable job. He's great too. I just take the key, and the keyboard player is great, and they do beautiful things with their keyboards. But there's this synthesizer thing that came out in the 80s that's just like, I just sort of step back when I hear it. I mean, it's like, like stepping out of the way or something.
Right. Well, when you start singing a song, what do you think about?
I go completely into the person or into the memory of what the song was written about.
Right.
I could be on stage singing to 10,000 people, and in the back of my mind or in the front of my mind, in my mind, I'm talking to a girl on the corner of 72nd and Central Park West, right, in the winter of '87. When the girl I wrote the song for, or being on the night train from Paris to London when I wrote the song back in '87.
Right.
I don't know, but that's one of the weirdest things in the world, is that when you're in those really big situations like amphitheaters and basketball courts and all that stuff you play, you can be singing to 10,000 people, and in your head you're only singing to one person. And the magic, I suppose, is to see through that fourth wall. In the theater they call the fourth wall the wall that's in front of you, the audience.
Right.
And it's supposed to be a wall, and you're not supposed to recognize the audience. As a lead singer and as a songwriter, it's my job to have the fourth wall, but for it to be invisible.
Right.
and to communicate the song to the people beyond the fourth wall. That might sound extremely intellectual, but that's kind of what my job is.
Right. Right. And you consider your music your job or enjoyment, or?
It's never been a job.
Right.
And a lot of times writing songs, enjoyment is a word for it, but I avoid songwriting as much as possible. I have to wait to the very last minute to write a song. You have to really get truthful, and you have to reveal something of yourself and want to communicate it and not sound grandiose or not sound self-important.
Right. Is it easier for you to talk? Is it easier for you to, say your mind in a song compared to talking to a person in front of them?
No. As you can tell, I like to sort of I enjoy the conversation about music or art or whatever. But after saying that, everybody's guarded.
Right.
I mean, we're brought up we get hurt as kids, or we lose somebody, or we have a tragic moment, lose the romance. Maybe it's the one that was going to be, the big love of your life got away, and no matter who says what, we wear a kind of suit of armor. We do, and we don't even know we're doing it. It's self-preservation.
Right.
So I think the fact that I've been able to write about things that were extremely personal to me has saved me going to a shrink. I mean, I want to know what it is.
Right.
I do. I'm interested in art. I like film, and I like painting, and I like literature, and I also like soccer. I like all the other stuff. Tour de France, it's very interesting to me. But I do tend to like art, so when I go to write something, I try to make it count,
Wow. Now, say I went to see you and stuff like that, and you're hanging out backstage. Is there anything particular you always ask for backstage, for either refreshments or something to eat or anything?
Well, we used to drink quite a lot of Guinness.
Uh-huh.
It had to be in a can. It had to be which is draft.
Right.
There's 3 different sorts of Guinness. But we all, kind of, for a long time,
right,
it was a ritual. We'd have half a glass of Guinness each before we'd have a toast. And we'd throw half a pint of Guinness back and, say, let's go, let's kill them.
Right.
I don't really bother with that anymore.
Right.
And Kerry likes to have a bottle of wine backstage.
Mm-hmm.
Tim seems to have started leaning towards Budweiser, which is more of a refreshing drink.
Yeah.
But we don't, it's like if you gave us water and towels,
right,
we're completely functional. I mean, it's not like I'm not there for any other reason than to really get to that stage, get to that mic,
right,
and sing. It's not a party. It's not a job. It's something that we kind of live for,
Right.
It's what we do. It's what makes us who we are.
Wow. Do you ever feel like there'll be a baby's reunion or Bad English or anything, maybe like one show?
No.
Never?
Never. Not with me in it. The babies have reunited. Tony and Wally have got a couple of guitar players they're working with, and they played their first gig, I think, last week.
Right.
And good luck to them. Love them. Wish them the absolute best. I hope they knock them dead. They should have done it a lot sooner. Bad English, no. I mean, you have these moments, when it's right to take a left turn.
Right.
That was quite good. It's right to take a left turn. But it is, and Bad English surprised everybody, and it was probably a bit too complicated to work. I mean, from where I'm coming from and from what those guys are known for, and I was hoping to mix the two together, and it was going to blow people's minds. But like something like Forget Me Not, it's quite a complex song, as is Ghost in Your Heart. They're lyrically interesting songs. But I don't know if the Journey people were prepared to go in that direction, and I don't know if the Babies fans were prepared to go in the other direction. I don't know if the John Waite fans were confused. I didn't really care. You know, it was just a new avenue to explore, and let's see where we go with it. And then we had a very successful first year. You know, we really did.
Right. Is there anything you miss from back in the day compared to today's day in recording?
No.
Cool. Good.
I mean, you know, 2-inch tape.
Yeah.
A 2-inch tape is a fabulous sounding thing, but digital recording now is so good. The only person that's going to know is somebody with ears of a dog. When I was mixing the record, the guy I was mixing it with actually turned to me and said, "You have the ears of a dog."
Wow.
And because I do, I can tell when something's sharp and when something's just pitchy, and if it's just a tiny bit toppy. But it takes those ears to differentiate between tape and digital, because it's that good. I mean, you can actually run everything through 2-inch tape at the end of making an album digitally, and you more or less re-record it onto the tape, and there you go.
Right.
I mean, when you listen back, when I re-record songs for Downtown, the album I put out several years ago with Alison Krauss on it, when I did that, I listened to the original Isn't It Time, and it was so faulted, I couldn't believe it. You know, some of it was tuney, some of the edits were short edits that weren't right. I mean, I listened to it and I thought, well, at the time we thought it was brilliant, but you go back and you listen to it as a professional later on, and you go like, wow. You know, how could we have missed that?
Right. Cool. Do you have any other projects in the work that you'd like to talk about?
Well, the new album.
Right.
I mean, the All Access, very proud of it. There's not an overdub on it. It's not hit-driven. You know, we have a couple of songs that you'll know, but I chose the songs that the band play the best.
Right.
Really proud of that. I think it's the best I've sung. And it's all live.
Right.
It hasn't been touched. It's just been mixed with great care. And but I am proud of it, and I hope that people get a chance to hear it. And I also hope that If You Ever Get Lonely is a hit on the country charts too.
Right. Working with record companies compared to working with like by yourself, is there any like major difference, say in recording, or like, you know, like stipulations you put on yourself when you record?
Well, you know, I mean, a record company wants you to have 3 singles.
Right.
And they don't care what it sounds like.
Right.
They don't care if it sounds like Justin Bieber or something else of that nature, as long as it sounds like what's hip and happening now. Wow. And sometimes there's been unbelievable conversations going back and forth between the record company and the artist that you just, you know, you could record them and put them out on comedy records. But I'm just too grown up now to really even consider that kind of conversation. Now, what I've done over the last few years is that I make the record and then license it to a bigger label. Like the last one came out on Universal, a subsidiary of Universal, and when it had run its course, I bought it back. So I own quite a lot of my own catalog. But it's like, you know, I'm the real thing. I come from the 50s, and I was raised on cowboy music, and that turned to the Beatles, and it turned to Jimi Hendrix, then it turned to, like, everything.
Right.
I come from such an authentic place that I am pretty judgmental. I mean, I see it coming now, and I just sort of, like, look at my shoes and hope it walks past. Right. I don't want to have a confrontation, but I will fight anybody, really. I just won't compromise.
Right.
And that doesn't bode well for being on a record label.
True.
You know, it just doesn't, man.
Wow.
It's just the way it is. It's like if you're reading some beautiful piece of poetry, and some guy, say you're writing this beautiful verse, and somebody leans over your shoulder with an eraser and rubs out the key word and writes in the most dumbest thing you can think of, that's an A&R guy.
Right. Cool.
No, it's not cool.
It's not cool.
I mean, that's the truth.
Right.
They don't care about anything. Art is the last. They think art is short for Arthur.
Wow.
Yeah.
You know, I hear these things that, like, you know, newer bands go into the record deal going, you know, they think they're, you know, getting signed, and all of a sudden the record company says, we want 5 songs off the album and we want ownership of it and stuff like that. It must be real depressing for newer bands.
It's depressing for the earlier bands. We all thought when we got signed for, like, large amounts of money that we'd get some of it, but it was all spent on recording the record and tour support.
Right.
And then they wanted your publishing just to go with it, you know. So, I mean, it's always been the same way.
Right.
I mean, I own my own publishing now, and I will for the rest of my life.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
Yes, I know. But I learned the hard way.
Right.
But, you know, different labels have different, I don't know what you would say, sets of ethics.
Right.
There are some labels that are really like communes, where the bands are talking to the head of the company about tiny things, you know. I mean, and it's a good exchange. But if you're dealing with a corporation and you expect to be talking to people with heart and soul, you really do maybe need to go and see that shrink, because it is just business.
Right. Wow.
Anybody that calls you buddy in the music business, watch out. Just be very careful. Hey, buddy. You know,
yeah,
like,
forget
hello. You know, be careful.
You know, just talking to you, even, you know, the sound of your voice, you know, I feel you'd be a good psychiatrist, you know?
You think so?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Well, you know, I think I've been through a lot, and I've survived a great deal. And I'm a well-read, thoughtful kind of guy, but I recognize my own faults, and I think I'm very self-critical.
Wow.
I really think that's one of the things that's kept me moving forward, is that I always think I can get it better. I think when you get to a certain point and you think you've written a masterpiece, that's when you should quit, because if you think you're that good, then you're not, because art just keeps going. And the moment you finish something, you can take a day away from it, look at it again, and know you could do better.
Right.
And then there's the corporate guys who have gold records all over the arena rock, you know, and it's like, what? Why?
Right.
You know, why? What was the point? It's the tail wagging the dog, you know.
Right.
If I'm trying to get to anything with this conversation, it's that the album is so real and it's just a straight up thing. If it's the end of me, it doesn't matter, because I think it's probably the best I've sung, and I'm really proud of it. And in the face of everybody doing things in such a technical fashion, I'm just pleased it can be this good and this simple, you know.
Wow. Well, congratulations on that new disc. And, you know, I hope people support it. You know, I listened to it this morning. I was very happy with it. You know, it's a little bit different, but I mean, like you said, it's the true you. And, you know, I can respect that.
Well, you know, I mean, yeah. Thanks. I mean, what do you expect? I mean, that's the question, isn't it? I mean, what do you expect?
Right.
I mean, I've made albums of country songs, and I've turned my back on, like, huge success to make the records that I wanted to make.
Right.
I have no excuse. I'm not supposed to have an excuse.
Right.
You know, I'm not a product. I'm an artist.
Right.
So, you know, I hope that, you know, that you got something out of it, and you tapped your foot and you thought it was pretty good, but, you know, it's the best I can do.
Wow. Well, John, you know, I appreciate you talking to me, taking some of your time up and stuff like that. Like I said, once again, I hope people can support this CD, well, release and stuff like that. I enjoyed it. So, you know, best of luck. Would you like to say anything in conclusion to the fans out there?
I didn't do it, Your Honor.
No. I hear that a lot. I hear that a lot.
It was someone what looked like me. It wasn't me. It wasn't me, Your Honor. Whatever. Just, you know, all the best to everyone, and happy lives.
Thanks a lot, John.
Long life.
Thanks
Long
a lot.
life. Okay, see you soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.